Okay, let's jump right in. Forget history class for a second. Today, we're looking at the animals in our homes, our dogs, our cats, through a completely different lens. We're going to treat them like products in a ruthless business case study, all competing for market share, right inside our living rooms.
So think about it. It's a really interesting question, right? In the huge global market for animal companionship, dogs and cats have pretty much achieved total domination. Why them? Why didn't other animals, ones that are maybe even more useful or intelligent, win out? Well, we're about to find out, and we're going to do it by applying 4 key business principles.
All right, our first filter is a concept that anyone who's ever used a confusing app or a frustrating website will totally get: user experience.
So in the business world, the product with the lowest barrier to entry, the one with the least amount of what they call friction, almost always wins. Now, friction is just a fancy word for anything that makes a product difficult or expensive or just a pain to use. The easier it is to get started, the bigger your potential market becomes. It's that simple.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got dogs and cats. They are basically plug and play. They fit into our existing homes with almost no fuss. But then you look at the other side, the high-friction options. A horse, you need a stable, you need land, you need special food. A monkey, you've got safety risks and super complex training. For the mass market, the user experience is just way, way too difficult.
You know, this is a perfect analogy for something we see all the time today. Most of us would much rather use a software as a service, like Netflix or Spotify, than go out and build our own media server from scratch. And why is that? It's because we want all the benefits without having to maintain the complicated infrastructure. Well, dogs and cats, they're the SaaS of the animal world.
Okay, so let's keep going with this, because it's not just about the product itself. It's also about the world it has to live in. And that brings us to this really powerful idea of infrastructure and getting, well, locked in. So here's the key idea. It's called path dependence. And what it means is that once a society builds an entire ecosystem around one standard, it becomes incredibly difficult to switch to something else. This creates what's called lock-in. The cost and effort of switching are so high that past decisions literally pave the roads for the future, and they lock out any alternatives, even if those alternatives might actually be better.
Just look at this timeline. The horse used to be the dominant product for getting around. I mean, the whole world was built for it. But when the cars showed up, we didn't just add cars to the mix. No, we completely rebuilt the world for cars. Gas stations replaced Haymarkets. Garages replaced stables. And that's a classic network effect. The more people with cars, the more car infrastructure got built, which made cars even more useful. And this whole shift made the horse basically obsolete for the mass market. It got locked out.
And we see this everywhere today. We really do. The QWERTY keyboard? It's not the most efficient layout, not by a long shot, but the entire world is built around it. We're locked in. For decades, the entire business world was built on the Windows operating system. That infrastructure created a dominance that was almost impossible to break.
Okay, so we've covered ease of use, and we've covered infrastructure. But how did we even get these products in the first place? Well, this gets us into the really fun stuff, product design, or, as I like to call it, how you turn a wolf into a golden retriever.
So from a product design point of view, a wolf is kind of like a huge, powerful, enterprise-level server. Yeah, it's incredibly capable, but it's also really complex, it's dangerous, and it carries massive liability. It is not for the average user. The dog, on the other hand, is the consumer version. It's been streamlined, simplified, and made safe for everybody else.
So how did this incredible rebrand actually happen? Well, you can think of it as a 3-step process. First, step 1, our ancestors analyzed the prototype. What's it good at? What's dangerous? Then, step 2, they stripped out the high-risk features. The aggression, the fierce independence. But step 3 is absolute genius. They enhanced the user interface. This is pure behavioral economics. They literally bred for traits like floppy ears and those puppy dog eyes that are scientifically designed to trigger our caregiving instincts.
In this quote, it absolutely nails it. Real market domination isn't about giving people the most powerful tool. It's about giving them the most intuitive one. It's a process called product simplification. We didn't just tame the wolf, we iPhoned it.
And that brings us to our final and, honestly, probably the most critical filter of them all. The one thing that every decision eventually comes down to, the bottom line: return on investment.
You see, humans are just natural ROI maximizers. We're constantly, whether we know it or not, calculating costs versus benefits.
We want the biggest possible return for the lowest ongoing cost. And in business, that ongoing cost is called operational expenditure, or OPEX. Just think of it like the monthly bills you have to pay to keep something running.
I mean, this table just makes the ROI calculation crystal clear. Look at the cat side. Low upfront cost, low OPEX, and the returns are amazing. Companionship, even pest control. Now look at the horse. Super high upfront cost, massive OPEX, and its main return, transportation, is now totally obsolete. For the average person, the ROI just isn't there anymore.
So here's the final verdict. The market has spoken loud and clear. Dogs and cats won because their value proposition is just unbeatable. They give us the absolute maximum emotional and practical benefit for the absolute minimum investment of our time, our money, and our infrastructure.
So there you have it, the 4 big principles that explain why your dog or your cat is probably sleeping on your couch right now. It wasn't just some historical accident. They were the clear winners of a brutal market competition, all thanks to a winning formula: great UX, infrastructure that supports them, brilliant product design, and an incredible ROI.
And that leaves us with one last thing to chew on. If this framework can explain the 10,000-year dominance of dogs and cats, couldn't it also explain the modern dominance of products like the iPhone or services like Netflix? Just think about it for a minute. The principles are exactly the same. Thanks for joining me.